Alright, this is gonna be a hard topic. Like, this is gonna be hard. I'm not even gonna lie. It's gonna deal with, like drugs and everything. And, I steer clear of drugs, like, pretty much my whole life. Like, because of my dad's situation. But, it was like, after I got shot, you know, my first day in the hospital, they had my morphine drip. And the whole time I was there, I never touched it. I never touched it. I touched it like a little bit here and there. But then when I went back the second time, when I caught that infection, you know, that's when that whole Percocet roller coaster started. You know, and they didn't, doctor didn't warn me about, oh, this is highly addictive, anything like that. Like, just gave it to me, like, here you go, this is pain medicine. I'm like, all right. So I started taking it, you know, I'm feeling good, this, that, and the third. People who've been through this, down this path, you know how it's, what I'm talking about. For those who don't, like, I highly advise you, please stay away from that. Like, that, that pain medicine is, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, of course you'll feel great. You'll want to do everything in the world. You'll think, you're on top of the world. But, I try to tell people all the time. I said, the withdrawals from it are just horrendous. Like, and from what I heard about that fentanyl, it's like it's 10 times. I've never touched that, but I've heard it's 10 times worse. Luckily I got, I put myself away from the pills, just enough time that way I get away from that whole fentanyl stuff started. Like, before it really, jumped off. Cause I remember when I first came back, when I first came home the second time from the hospital, you know, I didn't know no Percocets was. I never even heard of no Percocets. Like, I was like, it's a Percocet. So I remember I used to call the doctor, I used to call the pharmacy, and the pharmacy would tell me, they'd be like, oh yeah, we got, pain medicine, we got this much in, and I would call in my medicine like with no problem. Like, it would, I used to go to the pharmacy, and they would have a big white jar, you know, on the shelf. You could see it. They would go over there, grab it, pour the pills out. It was all good. So it was so crazy. Like a year later, it wasn't like that no more. I would call the pharmacy. They'd be like, oh, we don't, we can't tell that information no more. It was like, it was so bad. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody who went through the same thing. You had to go to store to store to store. Like, it was so crazy. Like, you had to be at the store that day to get your prescription filled, because if you waited, it was gonna be out. Like, it was just so crazy. Like, it was like it just flipped so fast from how it was, to how it started to be. Like, people started doing counters and started doing wild stuff for this medication. It was just so crazy just to witness all that, like how it was from like a year prior to what it turned into. And like, that was a long roller coaster for me dealing with them pills. Like, man, it was sometimes, and like, I remember one time, like, I think it was my PTSD was like, it was really like bothering me one day, and I was sitting around, and I had no medicine, and I had my hands on heroin. I hate telling this story, man. I've never told this story to nobody. I've never told nobody's story. And I tried heroin. It didn't do anything. I guess, a higher power was like, nah, man, you go down this road, there's no coming back. So, I didn't feel anything, and like, I kind of left it at that. I never, I just left it alone. I never touched it ever again. I just stuck with the pills, and that right there was just, it was a nightmare, a straight up nightmare. Like, I used to say I was like a functioning addict. Like, I go to work and all type of stuff like that, and you know, but now, like, man, that was just a nightmare. I feel for anybody who's going through that. Like, it's just, it's literally hell on earth. Like, especially like the withdrawals. Like, you know, it's like, it's so terrible. Like, you wake up, like the withdrawal will wake you out of your sleep. You'll be cold, but you'll be pouring down sweating. You can't sit still. You'll be irritable. Like, you're constantly going to the bathroom. Like, you'll be in the bathroom, you know, you know, blowing your brains out. Then, you think you've done. 20 minutes later, you're right back in the bathroom. And you're like, what's coming out? Like, I didn't, pretty much. everything in my system is out of my system, but you're still going to the bathroom. You're like, you can't believe it. And, you know, you'll do anything to, you know, to stop that withdrawal feeling, you know, even though, you know, something's telling you like, man, this stuff is bad for you, but that withdrawal, it'll overpower that, you know, it will overpower your common sense, your moral compass, you know, leave it alone, you know, walk away from it. But that withdrawal, like, you know, you can't, it's something you can't fight. And I remember some guy, he was trying to compare, you know, like crack to heroin. And I asked the dude, I said, you know, so what's the big hype about, like, you know, crack? I was like, are you, if withdrawal? He's like, nah, he's like, it's not, it's more of a mental thing. Like, it just calls you. Whereas, like, opiate withdrawal is straight physical. Like, you feel every part of it. Like, you feel so terrible. It's like you do anything to stop that. Anything. Like, that means you got to keep going, taking his medicine, you know, even, you know, shooting up heroin. Like, you know, it's just so crazy. Then I seen so many people, even people that I knew, you know, they just, even some people I didn't even know, you know, got hooked on them pills and everything. And, you know, my situation was different because I had a, you know, a major surgery, you know, like what happened to me. Some people, you know, they just fell into that trap. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with them. You know, I guess, you know, somebody coached them into taking these pills, and now you're on a road that you're stuck on, you know, and you don't have no kind of help, or if you don't have the strength in yourself to beat that back, you're just done for. Like, you're going to be, you know, pretty much, you know, you're going to fall prey to heroin. It's going to happen because, you know, who's going to have 40, 50, $60 for one pill versus you can get your bag of dope for 10, $15 and it's going to last you way longer. Like, it's just so crazy how that, you know, how that goes. Like I've seen in person how many people that destroyed, like people that I know, you know, like it was just so crazy to watch that medicine just come through and ravage, you know, a generation. I ain't generation. This just this country in general. How those opioids just ravage this. It's like it's just so crazy, you know. And you know how they peddle it to be this next wonder drug, but you know they didn't tell people, you know, or maybe they did, maybe they didn't care how, you know, people were going to be, how it was going to turn into, because you know it's nothing but legalized heroin. That's all it is. It's legal heroin. That's all it is. Like, no matter how you try to cut it, try to rename it, rebrand, whatever you want to call it, it's an opioid. Point blank, period. Heroin's an opioid. You know, you're going to get addicted to it, no matter what. No matter what. And I heard a dude say one time, he said it only takes it takes 2 weeks to develop a habit. And that's how it was too. It's like you take them for 2 weeks, your body won't get used to that. And you know, at first you're not gonna know what's wrong with you. You know, you're gonna wake up like, oh man, I don't feel good. But that's how it was for me. I didn't know. Like I guess nobody knew. You know, this happened in 2011. You know, they didn't. You know, they just like they would literally just give you whatever you wanted. Like you go to the doctor, came in the doctor, and they had a booklet. It was like this thick of different, you know, pain medicines, and he would like he would hand it to you like, here you go, look through it and see, tell me what you want. You would look through it, you know, and it was at this point it was a game because you told, you know, you were telling, you know, everybody was in that world. Even people were selling pills, you would tell them like, you know, go to the doctor, you know, he'll give you what you want, yada yada yada. So that's how it was. Like you already know what you're going there for. You going there to get Percocets, you know, Perc 30s, all that, and you know, it was like that's how it was. Like it was just so crazy. Like you know, seeing you know college kids just hooked on that. Like it was just so crazy. Like I knew this one kid, you know, in college. My man, he had to be like 20, 21. He was so bad off. Like first time I met him, you know, he was trying to put on the front. He's like, oh man, you know, I don't do that. I'm like, I already knew. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you know, I've been selling drugs for a long time, so I know somebody when they, you know, when they taking that stuff. And he was definitely on it. And like he was just, I remember one time I seen him, this dude kept calling my phone. Kept calling my phone. And the crazy thing was, I was taking them, but I was also selling them too. Like, you know, that whole dog guy, old supply, blah, blah, that. So that's how I was moving just like that. But, you know, my greed for money was just my greed for money and my greed for the opioids was just crazy. Like it was counterproductive what I was doing. Like I can't sell them, but then take them in the same beat. It was like I was kind of like burning my own bridge. And seen this cat one day, and my man, I seen him. I never forget. It was a wintertime, dead of winter. It was cold outside too. It had been like 35 degrees outside. It was cold. My man, I seen him. I pulled up in my car. It let somebody dump the bucket of water on his head. That's how bad he was sweating. He was sweating all bad. His eyes all like, big and bugged out. I like, man, you all right, man? He's like, yeah, I'm all right, man. Oh, let me just get. I'm like, oh my god. So I did. That's why I did it. And like, it was so crazy, like just seeing how that flow was with those pills, because I knew people, like, it was like like the whole crack thing during the '80s, even with the coke. How people overnight, they just blew up. Like it was just so crazy. Like I seen a lot of people go down for that. Get knocked off behind the pills. People doing 20 years behind them pills. 10, 15 years, and but that's how it was around that time. Like if you had a sweet connect, you was going, you was gonna eat. And I seen a lot of cats, but they also suffered because a lot of them cats are sitting in prison to this day. 10, 15 years, 20 years behind them pills. It was just so crazy just witnessing that whole thing. Like I was like right there from like the jump street of it, watching how it all progressed, and it was just so crazy. Just watching, like I said, so many people. Even that young guy, like I said, he was. This dude would call me every day. I mean, every day, like every day, faithfully. Like he would call me, like and he wouldn't spend no 10, $15. Like this dude was spending at least 300, $400 a day, at least that much money. A day he was spending. Like I mean, this was like 7 days a week. Like it was just so crazy just watching him burn through his money like that. And sometimes I remember one time this dude he bought I think he spent like $1,000 something like that. It was just so crazy. Like and I was right in the middle of it. I was like, hey, man, I don't know that the whole lifestyle. It just it's not what people think it is or anything like that. Even on both ends, but especially being addicted to them, but even selling drugs part, it's like you are destroying somebody for financial gain, and that's it's gonna come back on you. Like that like I believe in karma. I've seen it happen to so many people. They don't believe in it. It comes back and gets them. It always does. It don't matter if it takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Like it's gonna come back, and when it do, you're not gonna like when it comes back on you. So that's why I try to walk lightly nowadays, and I try to be mindful of people. I really try to be like a whole different person than I used to be, because like I used to be like a monster back in the day. And I try my best to move with you know respect for everybody. I don't try to burn a light bridge. I try to be as polite as I can and everything like that. And you know, I'll be back a little later on. All right.